Turn your Bibles to Luke chapter 8, and I want you to notice verses 22 and following. Do you remember there is where Jesus and his disciples, they were out on the Sea of Galilee, and a storm rolled up, and the disciples were afraid, and they began shoveling water out and doing all the things that they need to do as sailors on this ocean or on this sea when the storms roll up. And here their master is, Jesus. He's over there asleep, and so they go over there and they wake him up and they say, Master, Master, the storm's all around us. And they're terrified. And he stands up and he simply says, Peace, be still. And the wind stopped and the waves calmed. And his disciples, they were looking around like, who is this guy that even the winds and the waves obey him? Well, it's interesting. Do you remember October 26, 2019? It was a Saturday. The day before, there had been a tropical storm in the Gulf, Tropical Storm Olga. And that storm made its way up through Mississippi and Alabama into West Tennessee. And that was a storm that, if you go back and watch the radar, it was powerful. It looks very much like a hurricane. There were winds in this area, in Corinth and Tishomingo County and McNairy County and Hardin County of Tennessee, that recorded winds anywhere from 75 to 100 miles an hour. It toppled over a tree like this, roots just coming up out of the ground. You can see here trees and roots that are trees that are toppled over, and you can see their roots all by those high winds. And so as I've driven around our area over the last several months since that time, my mind goes back to that day, and I wonder about the storms that come. I'm not a fan of storms, and I remember being in my house that day and watching the trees blow and thinking, just waiting for a tree to fall. I was like, I've never seen wind like this in my life. And I imagine those disciples on that sea. And those kinds of winds, I've never been to the Sea of Galilee, but those who have tell me that a storm can roll up just in any moment. And winds are wailing, and waves are crashing against vessels on that sea. Well, as I've already mentioned, I want you to think about what the disciples did. Number one, they were afraid. They were terrified. And so when storms come, like that day in October, I was worried. I was concerned because I was just waiting for something to happen. And boy, did it in several places across our area. But so it will be in our lives. Storms will come. There will be challenges. Something's going to happen in your life. So what are we going to do? Well, there's several things I want us to think about as it relates to Luke chapter 8. The first thing is, I want you to notice that the disciples, where were they? They were in the boat. But who were they in the boat with? They were in the boat with Jesus. Get in the boat with Jesus. Make sure that when the storms come, you're in the boat with Jesus. And that's where the disciples were. But even there, they were terrified. The second thing they did, actually they didn't at the time, but Jesus said, where is your faith? So the second thing that we have to do when the storms of life hit is we put our faith in Jesus. Only the Lord can calm the storms of life. And so it's important when storms are going on in our lives that we put our faith in Him. And so tonight, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to discuss with your family or with someone else, even if you have to make a phone call, discuss with someone from Luke chapter 8. Talk about the things that you need to do on a daily basis. Write those down, the things that you need to do on a daily basis to, number one, make sure you're in the boat with Jesus and that you remain in the boat with Jesus. And then number two, that you put your faith in Him during the storms of life and really every day of your life. Talk about the challenges of doing these things, and especially the challenges of doing these things when you're in the midst of the storm. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope this has been encouraging to you. I want to invite you to join us anytime, especially right now on Facebook Live on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. But also we try to upload and have something on Facebook Live on Wednesday evenings, and also on our YouTube channel, Savannah COC.